Hello, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. What a doozy of a week we have this week. We have the Korea stats, which I'm going to get into very shortly. We have lying politicians, and we have land disputes in Canada that could affect a lot of people. Let's get right into this, starting with the politicians. So our fearless housing minister, Gregor Robertson, he now says average home prices must fall in order to bring back housing affordability to Canadians. Previously, he had said no. So we're going to look at exactly what he said, but this is making headlines recently because he's contradicting himself, just like most politicians do at some point in their career. But yeah, let's check out the actual footage of before and now, which was, I believe, just yesterday, his most recent statement on this. So this is a news article from May 14th, updated May 15th this year, just after he became housing minister. Now, you can barely hear the reporter ask him, but he says, do prices need to come down in order to restore affordability? And he says no. But yeah, you can hear it here. And this is what Global News reported on this, or has this here. And again, yeah, this is from May 14th or 15th.
Do you think home prices need to go down?
No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy.
Minister, quickly, just in my last bit of time here, you previously said that you did not believe housing prices needed to come down in Canada. Do you still hold that view?
To be clear, we need to see average prices of housing for Canadians come down. We need to build a lot more non-market housing to bring down that average cost. That's the focus here, is more supply that is affordable and targeted at the people who need it the most, like first-time home buyers being able to access a $50,000 savings.
And there you have it. Average house prices need to come down now to help restore affordability. And of course, construction costs and average house costs need to come down also. But yeah, one thing when he got elected, no, prices don't need to come down. Now they need to come down. I agree. Prices need to come down. That is the only way you can sustainably restore or start to restore affordability in this country. Interest rates and all the rest of that stuff, that's just a Band-Aid. That will just create more speculation if they drop them back to zero like they had them before. But yeah, this is the only way. But again, politicians, they got to say what they got to say to make everyone happy at that time, it seems. But that was an in-committee meeting. And yeah, the pressure's on now. And sticking to that same theme of the BS politicians, we have Mark Carney. Housing starts were up in September. That's good news for younger Canadians looking to buy their first home. We're focused on bringing supply up so your costs come down. Well, this is great. Young people are going to be able to afford a home now. Lots of homes are being built. And this is what Mark Carney is telling you. Anyway, annual pace of Canadian housing starts jumped 14% in September, CMHC says. So he's quoting this, and he's doing such a great job, but not so quick. Let's see what I found. And I actually called him right out on this. Busted cherry-picking data and headlines. Even worse than me. I don't cherry-pick that bad, but housing starts were up in September, 14.2%, but were down 16.6% in August, the month before. I won't even get into the type of starts, which I'm going to get into the type of starts right now, actually, in this video. Mark Carney is smarter than you. Let's look at the data to show you the reality and how Mark Carney is completely misleading the public here with that statement or with that post he did. Okay, so here we are. This is from the CMHC housing portal site that they have. And yeah, you can see he's quoting the green arrow there from August to September this year, up 14.2%. Looks great. But if you look at the month before, from July to August, it's down 16.6%. It's gone down more than it's gone up. Now, if you look back, they've actually gone down from June and July. And in June, they were at 283. And I think these are annualized housing starts here. They annualize them to give you one number every month. But 282,000, 293, down to 244. Now we're back up to 279. So they're actually down, the housing starts, but he's claiming that they're up and everything's great and rosy. So yeah, not so quick there, Mark Carney. Now look at this next chart here. This kind of really puts it all into perspective. So this is the single detached housing starts per capita in Canada, and all the way back to 1971 there on the left side of the screen. And back in 1973, I picked a high point there, one detached home for every 171 Canadians. So, which isn't bad. Usually, what, 3 to 4 people a home. So, yeah, they're building one new home for every 171. Then you get to what, the mid 80s there, one home for every 189 Canadians. Not so bad. And these are the highs, mind you. One home for every 247,000 in the early to mid 2000s. And then you get to 2021, one home for every 466 Canadians. And then we get down here, like, this is like the Canadian dream dying, mind you. And if you were to draw a trend line down this, it looks pretty bad. But anyway, one single detached home now for every 757 Canadians. So we went from one detached for every 171 Canadians, all the way down to one home for every 757 Canadians. So this is the types of starts we're seeing decline. And of course, what's on the incline? The apartments and condos and rental units and whatnot. So very misleading statement there. And it just goes to show you that politicians will use and abuse you and tell you what you want to hear. But that was a pretty bad one. And I can't let them get away with that. All right, now this was the big news this week. This is pretty crazy. We went from hearing like, I remember hearing from a few people like, this is not a big deal. Like, they're not going to take your land. This is ridiculous. This was just, an isolated thing about some fishing rights or something from the native or indigenous people and so on. But it's turning out it's becoming a big issue out there in BC right now. This was a letter, and you've probably seen this if you follow real estate, but for those of you who haven't, I'm going to read through it real quick. And this was, when will they come for your house, from Jim McMurdy. And this is the actual letter from the mayor of Richmond, Vancouver. Please take note that the recent BC Supreme Court decision of Cowichan Tribes versus Canada, blah, 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 made some important decisions which could negatively affect the title to your property. A briefing paper prepared by the City of Richmond staff is attached for your reference. If you look at the draft map attached to the briefing, your property is located within the claim area outlined in green. For those whose property is in the area outlined in black, the court has declared aboriginal title, which may compromise the status and validity of your ownership. This was mandated without any prior notice to the landowners. The entire area outlined in green is claimed on appeal by the Cowichan First Nations. Given the serious implications of the court decision and the pending appeal, the city is hosting an information session to be held on Tuesday, October 28th, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Richmond City Hall. We hope you can attend to learn more about the important situation. And anyway, that's pretty serious stuff. The city's sending this out. So there's a green area. I'm thinking I'm going to do another video on this near the end of the week, just to look at some properties for sale out there, because they're going to be hard to sell right now. Can you imagine trying to sell your property and there's an indigenous land claim over it? Like, no one's going to buy it. And what about the mortgage companies? Are they going to like, yeah, no problem. What do you want? $2 million, $3 million mortgage? Like, this is serious stuff. And there's fears of this spreading further than just this one area. But I'm going to get into the areas later, or maybe in another video. But I want to show you some other reactions here, which are pretty insane. Here's one from Keith Wilson, KC. I think he's a lawyer, actually. There are over 2 million homeowners in British Columbia. You may no longer own your home. 95% of BC's land base is currently subject to unresolved claims of Aboriginal title. The court just ruled in the Cowichan case that a successful determination of Aboriginal title can declare fee simple interests invalid and unjustified infringements. This means the assumed indefeasibility of registered titles of a BC home and business owners under BC's Land Title Act just flew out the window. So fee simple is the highest form of land ownership in Canada, granted to you by the Crown. They say, we are responsible for this land and we are giving you absolute title to it. You pay your taxes and whatever else. But this is now going out the window. The Crown's commitment to you that you are a landowner is now being challenged. And so the Crown promised you one thing, but someone else is saying, no, you can't do that now because we actually have title or rights to this land. So it's, again, I'm not going to get into, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, I haven't talked to any lawyers, but this is serious stuff. And a lot of people are talking about it right now. And lastly, on that same subject, this is what the woke NDP premier of BC gets asked about this. And this is what he has to say. And doesn't sound too promising either from him. As Alex Zoltan posted this, happening now, NDP premier David Eby admits he shares the concerns expressed by Richmond Mayor Malcolm Brodie over the BC Supreme Court Cowichan decision. impacting private property rights in the province. So yeah, just a quick video here from him.
Premier David Eby, for you. Malcolm Brody, the mayor of Richmond, sent a letter to residents on the weekend about a town hall that they are having. He's also said around the Cowichan Lands decision, he said that he wants certainty for both the province and the federal government around arguing in appeal that private ownership should be protected from any decision. Is that the argument that you plan to make on appeal? And John Rustad has also raised concerns saying that you're not moving fast enough here to provide certainty, and that he believes that you should not be negotiating with First Nations while this appeal is underway. What do you say to both those ideas?
Thanks. I share the concern of Mayor Brody about the implications of this decision. It's a big deal. And it's crucial for our economy, for just the basic economics of a family, that people understand their private property rights. That's the basis of how things work in the province. So clarity and resolution is urgently needed. And yes, in the appeal, of course, we are arguing to defend those private property rights of those homeowners and for certainty to ensure that businesses can make the decisions to invest that they need to make.
So that's pretty crazy stuff, and I don't know where this is going to go, but it seems like it's pretty serious, and they are taking this seriously, and there's court appeals and decisions happening right now. But I put out a post, and I put this out before actually, but it seems like it's holding more water at this point. And I said I posted this before, but it seems a lot more relevant this week. Should we be adding the following field to MLS listings from now on? Land status, ceded or unceded? And let me know what you think in the comments, but I think this is going to be an issue going forward. Unless they get this clarified real quickly, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty out there in a lot of areas. And while we're on BC here from Steve Saretsky, multiplex zoning in Burnaby is already proving to be a disaster. 4-story laneway house, neighbors complaining. The city is now implementing significant reforms to curb the height and density. So it seems like 3 stories was the max in a lot of places. Now they have this big, huge 4-story thing. Look at this monstrosity. Can you imagine sitting in your backyard there on the right and you got this thing popping up? But so there's now the density is an issue, and they're gonna have to appeal or change some of these zoning bylaws to reduce the height. So again, it's a lot of stuff backfiring, a lot of changes right now, a lot of uncertainty and changes in the Canadian housing market. And it's all from the desperation of what's happened and the prices and whatnot. And this is what happens. Desperate times create desperate measures. I want to hear from Madeline Towns. She's good. You can follow her on X, actually. She's a straight shooter, really opinionated. Good morning. Today you can get 50% off. And this is from Blog TO. It's an article in there. 2-year-old Toronto mansion for sale at $10 million after failed attempt to sell it for $20 million. I want to hear from Wall Street Apes. This is how the average Google employee lives in Mountain View, California, Silicon Valley. I've actually driven through this area. Every road is lined with RVs. There are RVs everywhere. The cost of living is so high in the area, almost all employees live out of these RVs. I thought these people could make good money in Silicon Valley, but even though they do, they still can't afford to live there, I guess.
So I'm leaving one of the Google office buildings to show you how your average Googler lives.
In 3/4 of a mile, at the roundabout, take the second exit.
Damn, look at all those RVs.
This is not right by Google HQ. They don't have any parking there. These are the offices around Mountain View that have a bunch of little Google outbuildings.
There's tons of them.
Studies, almost all of these people living or staying on the side of the road here are tech workers.
Wow.
A lot of them are super commuting, so they're here during the week and then they drive farther away on weekends to where their actual homes are. But these are the actual homes of an awful lot of Google and other tech employees.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, let's get into the housing statistics for the month of September, the national housing stats, I should say, from the Canadian Real Estate Association. So here are the number of sales. So the number of sales looks pretty average. They're actually just under 40,000 sales. The long-term average of all this data here is about 41,000. So just below the long-term average. Not bad, but we have a big population compared to all these previous years too. But so sales are still reasonably okay. They're within that average range. Moving on, this is all months now. That was just September's, but this is all months. And yeah, you can see there it's still like average, right, compared to all the other months, not just September. Months of inventories. The months of inventory, this is again just for September, and it has increased there. It's, yeah, we're seeing every month, I think almost every month, or no, actually every month this year has increased over the previous 4 to 5 years. Look at 2020 and up. Yeah, it's just inventory is increasing, and it's going to affect prices. We're almost at 2019 levels. It's 4.4 months right now. Here is the long term again, all the other months included here. And you can see, yeah, if you draw a line, I'll see it on another chart. Let me just move on right here. Yeah, this chart right here. So you can see there, the red is the months of inventory, and our low, and I've said this every other month so far, is the highs from the previous few years. So yeah, we're seeing that inventory. Now, prices haven't broke down because we need to see more inventory to get those. Like, we barely hit 5. I think we hit 4.9 months was the highest we've hit in the last, this year and in the last like 4 or 5 years. But we can stay above 5 months. It really will affect prices. But again, we see seasonality. When the spring, we'll see that. But right now, it remains lower. We'll see what happens in the winter. Who knows? But good thing is we're seeing, again, higher lows and higher highs when it comes to inventory year after year, and we're headed in the right direction. Here is the sales to new listings ratio, the health of the market. It's currently, the red bars here are just the September's. It's at 50.7. This is the lowest sales to new listings, the worst September in the data we have here since 2019. And the other one was 51.7 and 51.5, I believe, 2023 and 2024. So we are seeing lower sales to new listings ratio further into buyer's territory. This year, you can see it's been a miserable year so far. But yeah, we'll see what happens as time goes on. And here is the average national sale price. And it's currently sitting at $676,154 for September. And that is a 1.9% month over month increase, or $13,000 from August to September. 0.7% year over year, or $4,000, very little, from last September 2024, and a 17.1% decline from the peak, or $139,000. Now let's look at that in a little bit more perspective here. Here is the bearish pennant that I've been keeping an eye on that broke down below it. It hasn't re-entered that pattern, so it's still on the downside, even though we did see a little uptick there in the price. But yeah, it's still on the downside, and I tell you right now, October's not looking so great. Average monthly mortgage payment versus the average rent price in Canada, as per rentals.ca, and of course the CREA stats here. And yeah, $3,112 to own a house with 10% down, the average house in Canada at current rates. And plus, right? This doesn't include your property tax and all the expenses of owning a home. But this is just your mortgage payment with interest. And $2,123 for the average rental in Canada. And yeah, so $1,000 difference there. These are not the exact same homes we're comparing here, but this is just the average of each of those statistics. So before I go, just one last thing on that Aboriginal land title issue. I did check my area, and you can do the same. You have to look into it. Make sure you look into it properly. There's no like set website. I forget where I looked, but you can find out if you're on ceded or unceded land. You know, when we go to a lot of events, people start them with land acknowledgments and whatnot, and you know, don't trust those, because I was at one and I believe it was wrong. They said we're on unceded land, but in my area, Niagara Falls, we are ceded land. So we had a deal way back in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Niagara Falls, and Fort Erie. And Niagara-on-the-Lake used to be the capital of Canada, so they made a good deal with the Aboriginals way back when. So we are ceded. We own our land, which is important. But you can check into yours and let me know in the comments. Are you guys on ceded land, unceded land? Do you have rights, no rights? But I think it may be important, by the looks of it, in going into the future with what's happening right now in BC. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.